NASA had been watching Mars for decades. Rovers had come and gone. Satellites had scanned every inch of its surface. But one day, a strange signal appeared. It came from deep under the planet's surface, far below the red rocks and sand. The signal was not like any natural frequency. It was not radio waves, not seismic movement, not anything known. It was a strange rhythmic pulse, and it sounded almost like a heartbeat. Scientists were confused and curious. The signal came from a region of Mars that had never been explored. It was a flat, empty desert with nothing special on the surface. But deep below, something was alive, or at least active. The signal pulsed every 42 seconds, never changing. It felt artificial, like it was waiting for someone. Within weeks, NASA prepared a special mission. A team of 6 astronauts was chosen. They were trained for deep drilling, exploration, and emergency survival. Their ship was called the Athena. It took 6 months to reach Mars. The landing was smooth. The crew stepped onto the dusty ground, their boots sinking slightly into the soft red soil. The sun was weak here, the sky a faded pink. Commander Lewis led the group. He was tall, calm, and serious. His second-in-command was Dr. Martian, a geologist and tech expert. The rest of the team included an engineer named Cooper, a medic named Silva, a young pilot called Reyes, and a scientist named Dr. Ian Novak. As they moved across the barren desert, the signal grew stronger. Their handheld scanners showed a spike in activity every few meters. After 2 days of searching, they stopped in a spot where the readings were the highest. There was nothing special to the eye, just more dust, rocks, and dry silence. Chin set up a ground-penetrating radar. The screen blinked, then displayed something impossible. Beneath them, almost 300 feet below, was a perfect geometric structure. It was shaped like a large dome. The material was not stone or metal they could recognize. It gave off a weak energy field, barely noticeable. But it was there. This is not natural, Chin whispered, eyes wide. Lewis nodded slowly. Prepare the drill. We're going in. They spent the next 3 days drilling carefully. Dust flew into the air. The ground shook slightly. At last, the drill broke through something solid. It wasn't rock. It was a smooth, dark surface. Reyes reached down and touched it. It felt cold, even through his gloves. It's metal, Cooper said, brushing more dust away, or something like it. But it's not corroded, not even scratched. They cleared the area. A circle appeared about 5 meters wide. It looked like a sealed door. Around the edges were strange markings, not writing but more like symbols or carvings. They glowed faintly under certain lights, as if reacting to their presence. That night, the team camped nearby. They discussed the possibility of alien life, secret experiments, or ancient civilizations. The mood was excited but tense. They took turns watching the entrance. At 2:43 a.m. Mars time, Reyes, who was on watch, noticed something strange. His tablet showed the signal had changed. It was no longer a slow pulse. It was faster now, and it wasn't random. It had a pattern. It was like a code, or worse, like something waking up. He called the others. They gathered around the strange metal door. The markings were brighter now. The air felt heavy, even inside their suits. Then, without warning, a low hum filled the air. The ground beneath them vibrated softly. "What's happening?" Silva asked, her voice shaky. Chin looked at the scanner. "The signal, it's spiking. It's not just a beacon. It's pulling energy from somewhere." Suddenly, the door made a soft click, then a slow hiss. The circular metal disc began to rotate. Dust blew outward as ancient air escaped. Then it opened. The astronauts stepped back. A dark hole appeared in the ground, leading into blackness. A strange smell wafted out, cold, metallic, and unfamiliar. Inside, faint lights flickered, like they had been waiting for this moment. Lewis turned to the team. His face was pale behind the helmet. "It opened for us," he said quietly. "It knew we were coming." Everyone stared into the darkness. The hole wasn't just a door. It was an invitation. They looked at each other. No one said a word. The wind outside had stopped. The world was silent. Inside the hole, something moved. Just a shadow, but enough to make them freeze. Novak stepped forward, looking down into the black corridor below. "This isn't a lab," he said. "It's something else." From deep below, a new sound began. A slow, deep growl. Not mechanical. Not human. Something else. And it was awake. The door had opened without warning. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a slow slide into the ground, revealing a dark hole that led deep below the surface of Mars. The air that came out was cold, dry, and full of dust. But what made it worse was the feeling. Something about it felt wrong, like the place was watching them. Commander Lewis stepped forward, shining his flashlight into the hole. The beam lit up a metallic corridor, covered in dust and fine red sand. The walls were made of some kind of metal, but not like anything from Earth. It had strange lines running through it, glowing faintly like weak veins under skin. "We go together," Lewis said. "No one splits off." One by one, the 6 astronauts climbed down. Their boots hit the floor with soft thuds. As soon as they reached the bottom, lights along the corridor flickered on by themselves. They weren't bright, just enough to show the path ahead. The lights pulsed slowly, almost like they were breathing. "I don't like this," Reyes whispered, his voice shaky in the comms. The corridor stretched far into the distance. Every surface was covered in a layer of untouched dust. Nothing had moved here in a long time. And yet, it felt like the walls were alive. As they walked deeper, their footsteps echoed softly. The air inside was cold and dry, but it smelled faintly like metal and something else, like burnt plastic. The silence was heavy. They passed by empty rooms, some with strange shapes inside. One room had chairs bolted to the floor. Another had glass containers, all broken. "There are no bodies," Dr. Novak said. "But look at this." He pointed to the wall. Long, deep claw marks were carved into the metal. Whatever made them had strength far beyond any human. A few meters away, dry blood stained the floor. It was dark brown, almost black, and it splattered in a wide arc. "What the hell happened here?" Silva whispered. Nobody answered. The humming sound returned. It came from deep below, vibrating through the floor. It was soft, steady like a heartbeat. It wasn't loud, but they could all feel in their boots. It was the same rhythm as the signal NASA had received. Now, they were standing inside the source of it. Cooper's scanner beeped. "We're close to a main chamber. There's a large room ahead, big enough to be a control center." They continued on. The doors here opened automatically as they got near, reacting to their presence. Each one made a soft hiss. Each one felt like another step into something they shouldn't be exploring. Finally, they entered a massive room. It was round, like the inside of a dome, with high ceilings and walls covered in strange technology. Screens and consoles lined the edges. Most were dark, but few blinked weakly. Symbols and diagrams moved slowly on them, written in a mix of languages, some human, some completely alien. "What is this place?" Mira Chun said, stepping closer to a panel. She touched it, and the screen lit up fully. A hologram appeared in the air above it. It showed a 3D map of the underground facility. There were more levels below them, lots more. "This place is huge," she whispered. "And look at this. Some of the systems are still active. Life support containment." "Containment?" Lewis asked sharply. "For what?" No one answered. At the center of the room was a chair, too large for a human, but shaped like one. Around it were tubes and wires, many of them connected to the floor. Nearby, another console flickered to life. Reyes approached it. "I think it's playing something." The screen showed a video. A man in a white suit stood in the same room they were in now. He looked tired. His voice was broken by static. "If anyone finds this, we were wrong. We shouldn't have dug this deep. We thought we could control it. But it wasn't sleeping. It was waiting. The screen cut out. Everyone stared at each other. Chin stepped back. "This isn't just a lab. It's part of something much larger." Suddenly, a sharp sound filled the comms. Heavy breathing. Slow and deep, like something right next to them. The astronauts froze. Who was that? Novak asked. It wasn't me, Reyes said quickly. I'm not even near you, Silva added. Lewis checked his monitor. Everyone's in the same room. No one else is broadcasting. The breathing continued for 5 more seconds, then stopped. A chill ran down their spines. We're not alone, Lewis said quietly. They turned, looking at every shadow, every corner. The lights above them flickered again. A few screens on the far wall turned on by themselves, showing static and strange symbols. Then one screen cleared up. It showed a hallway, live footage. In that hallway, something moved. It wasn't clear, just a shape tall and fast. It passed by the camera in less than a second, but it was enough. Something's still inside, Novak said, and it's moving. Lewis made a decision. We fall back. For now, get above ground. We regroup. No one argued. They moved quickly through the corridor, hearts racing. As they passed the broken rooms and dark doors, the breathing sound returned. But this time, it wasn't in their comms. It was in the corridor behind them. Low, slow, getting closer. They didn't look back. When they reached the ladder, Cooper climbed first, then Silva, then Novak. One by one, they reached the surface. The red sky above never looked so welcoming. Lewis was the last to leave. Just before he climbed up, he looked back down the corridor. For a second, he saw something at the far end, a tall shape, watching, breathing. Then the lights went out. The red dust still clung to their suits as the team sat inside the small command tent they had set up near the entrance to the underground facility. Mars looked calm above them. The silence outside was a sharp contrast to what they found below. No one spoke for a while. The memory of the breathing sound still echoed in their minds. Commander Lewis finally broke the silence. We need to go through the logs. Find out what this place really is. Mira-chan and Dr. Novak nodded and powered up the data drives they had recovered from a control room. The files were old but still intact. The date on the first one shocked them all, more than 100 years old. A video began to play. The screen showed a group of scientists in clean suits working in a white lab. Earth flags were visible on their suits, but many wore no country patch at all. Their faces looked tired but focused. Mars Genetic Research Division. Cycle 23, a voice in the video said, "We have isolated the sample found beneath Layer 9. DNA strands are unlike anything on Earth. Early tests show rapid cell regeneration." The footage cut to another scene. A small creature floated in a tank. It had skin like glass, bones glowing faintly underneath. The scientists watched it with awe. Subject Delta 2 is alive, fully formed in less than 72 hours. Intelligence testing begins tomorrow. Novak frowned. They were creating life from alien DNA. Lewis leaned closer. Keep watching. The next clip was darker. The same tank, now cracked. Blood covered the floor. A scientist screamed as a blur of movement passed behind him. Then static. Another video started. This one from a security camera. A hallway, shaking slightly. Something massive ran past. The camera caught only a glimpse. Long arms, too many joints, and eyes that glowed white. The audio picked up someone yelling, "We can't control them. Shut it down." Then a countdown timer started on the screen. Explosion. The camera feed cut out. Chin whispered. They tried to destroy it. The whole lab. The final log was audio only. A woman's voice, broken, tired. "To whoever finds this, we failed. The DNA wasn't dead. It was sleeping. We made them stronger, smarter, but they hate us. We sealed them deep. We prayed they'd never wake. Do not wake them. Leave this place. Burn it." The message ended. Then came the sound. A deep, distant bang. The astronauts froze. The sound echoed up from the underground door. Another bang. Then another. Silva stood slowly, gun in hand. Something's down there, and it's moving. Lewis tapped his comm. "Everyone ready up? We go back in. We can't leave without knowing how many of them are still alive." "You sure that's a good idea?" Cooper asked. "That thing we saw was fast." We stick together. We find a safe room. Lock ourselves in. Study more of the files. We need answers. We need to know what they are. With weapons ready and cameras on, they climbed back into the hole. The lights flickered again as they moved through the corridors. The breathing sound had stopped, but now there were footsteps. Soft, wet, and not human. Always just far enough to stay out of sight. They reached a room marked Gen Lab 4. The door was slightly open, like something had gone inside recently. Inside, the walls were covered in broken tanks. Glass shards crunched under their boots. There were old skeletons, some human, some not. Chin found a terminal and started a download. More logs. She scanned them quickly. Listen to this. They made 12 different types. The last one, they called it Eclipse. It wasn't just strong. It could mimic human voices, even thoughts. What happened to it? Lewis asked. Says here it went missing after blackout. They never found it. Another loud bang echoed through the corridor. Then a voice, soft, female, familiar. Commander Lewis, is that you? They all turned. Chen's face went pale. That's my voice. The voice came again. The exact same tone. The same accent. Help me? Please. I'm trapped. Silva aimed his rifle toward the corridor. That's not Chun. No, Chin whispered. It's not. The sound of something crawling on metal echoed in the silence. Then silence. Lewis pointed toward another room. We move. Now. They rushed into a storage chamber. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. For a moment, there was peace. Inside were more tanks, some labeled with codes and names. One was still full. A creature floated inside. It looked asleep. Human-like shape, but its skin shifted color slightly every few seconds. Its eyes suddenly opened. It was watching them. The lights shut off. Outside, the breathing started again. Darkness had become their new reality. Since the breathing started again, no one slept. They took shifts watching the sealed door inside the storage room. But they were already too late. Jenkins was the first to vanish. It happened during the third shift. Chin had been on watch, her eyes heavy but focused. Jenkins had gone to check one of the motion detectors placed near the corridor. A minute passed, then two. When he didn't respond, Chin called his name over comms. Silence. When they opened the door and followed his path, all they found was a pool of blood. His helmet, cracked and covered in claw marks, sat beside it. Lewis looked at the blood, then at the hallway disappearing into black. Something took him. Fast. No sound. No warning. Panic spread fast. Cooper slammed his fist into the wall. We should have never come here. Dr. Novak began setting up more motion sensors. If it moves, we'll see it, even if we can't stop it. Silva checked his rifle. We can trap it, kill it. If it bleeds, it dies. They placed traps across the hallways, tripwires, sound bombs, and pressure plates linked to alarms. Cameras were positioned to cover every angle. Still, no one felt safe. That night, they took turns sleeping in shifts. The lights stayed on, flickering now and then, but no alarm sounded. Until 3:17. A piercing alarm woke everyone. Zone 6. Novak shouted. Something triggered the motion sensor. They watched the feed. A blur of movement zipped across the screen. No shape, just speed and shadow. It's too fast, Chin muttered. Way too fast. Wait, where's Cooper? Silva asked. The team scattered through the facility, searching every room. Cooper's tracker was offline. In a storage room near the entrance shaft, they found his radio. Blood smeared across the wall. Deep claw marks scratched through metal. Lewis's voice cracked. We're being hunted. Picked off. One by one. They returned to the control room and tried to contact Earth. Chun sent a priority signal. No response. The signal wasn't reaching beyond Mars. Something's jamming it, Novak said, from inside the base. It doesn't want us calling for help, Lewis muttered. With 2 crew members gone, the rest argued about what to do. We leave now, Chin said. We have the data. We know this place is a grave. We can't leave them behind, Novak said. There might be a chance they're still alive. You saw the blood. Lewis raised a hand. We split into two teams. Chan and Novak find a way to boost the signal. Silva and I will go down the lower corridor where the last camera showed movement. They checked weapons and lights, then moved. Every step echoed through the metal halls. Down in the lower section, Lewis and Silva found Gen Lab 7. The door was broken. Inside, the tanks were shattered, each one labeled with a name. Delta, Gamma, Theta, Eclipse. Silva knelt next to a pool of dark liquid. This isn't just blood. It's thick like oil. They followed the trail into a shaft, a steep tunnel leading deeper into the Martian rock. The trail of blood continued. Back in the upper level, Chin found a power hub. She worked quickly, rerouting cables and reconnecting signal boosters. Novak watched the corridor nervously. Then he froze. Did you hear that? Chin paused. Hear what? A voice. It sounded like Cooper. Don't listen, she said. That thing mimics voices. Then the lights flickered. From the shadows behind them, a low hiss. Run. They sprinted back to the control room, slamming the door shut behind them. Alarms blared. Something had triggered 3 sensors at once. Movement. All directions. Lewis's voice came through the calm Chan. Did you boost the signal? Trying. We're trapped. Stay where you are. We're coming up. Down in the shaft, Lewis looked into the darkness. The trail continued down, turning left at a bend. We need to go back. Silva nodded. They're hunting us. And they're learning. They ran. In the control room, Novak stared at a screen. A new signal had appeared. A strange pulse. Not natural. Not human. Chen realized it was the same frequency they had picked up on the surface before entering. But this one was active now. It's calling something. Novak whispered. Not just calling. It's waking more of them. Silva and Lewis burst in. We need to seal the entrance. Now. Alarms screamed louder. One trap after another triggered. The last camera showed something tall moving, faster than the eye could follow. Silva slammed the emergency seal button. The heavy door dropped. Then silence. They were trapped inside. Lewis looked at the group. We need a new plan. Tomorrow, we head to the central lab. Find the source of the signal. Shut it down. If we don't, none of us make it out. Outside the sealed door, claws scraped gently across the metal. Then a whisper. Help me, it's so dark, please. It was Jenkins' voice. But Jenkins was already gone. The air in the deeper part of the facility felt heavier. As the remaining crew walked down the metal corridor, a sharp smell, like burnt plastic and old blood, filled their lungs. Lights flickered above, and the hum in the walls seemed louder now, almost angry. Dr. Mills walked ahead, her flashlight sweeping across faded warning signs written in both English and something else, symbols no one could recognize. This is it, she said, stopping at a thick steel door with faded red letters. Alpha chamber, do not enter. Commander Rourke touched the keypad. Surprisingly, it still had power. After entering a few random codes, the screen blinked and turned green. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a cold blue glow from inside. The chamber was massive. It stretched out like a forgotten stadium, filled with rows of machines, sealed glass tanks, and large cylindrical pods that blinked with soft lights. In the center stood a high-tech console. Above it, a large circular projector suddenly lit up, spinning slowly. A hologram appeared, an old man in a lab coat. Project Genesis Log 01. The hologram began, voice calm and lifeless. Earth's atmosphere weakens. Human adaptability is slow. Solution: create the next version of humanity. Stronger, smarter, obedient. The crew froze, listening as more holograms played automatically. These hybrids, the voice continued, will not fear. They will not hesitate. They will survive where humans fail. Perfect for expansion. Another video played on the side wall. It showed early versions of the hybrids. Tall, pale-skinned creatures with long limbs and no pupils. One of them stood still while bullets bounced off its skin. Another tore through a steel door with its bare hands. A third creature looked right at the camera. No expression, just awareness. Cold and pure. Dr. Mills covered her mouth. They weren't just making monsters, she whispered. They were trying to replace us. Lieutenant Chin moved toward a panel on the left. Look at this. It's a breeding chamber, he said, pointing through a window into a massive room filled with eggs floating in a strange liquid. Hundreds of them, maybe more. They're still active, Rourke muttered. This place is still growing them. Suddenly, a sound echoed above them, a soft metallic scratch. The team looked up at the ceiling. It was high and covered in large pipes and shadowed corners. Something moved, slowly, silently, a shape barely visible. Then it blinked. Two eyes, dark and reflective, stared down at them, watching. Rourke raised his weapon. Don't move. The creature above didn't react. It stayed perfectly still, like it was thinking, calculating. Back up, Mills whispered. We need to leave. Now. The team moved slowly toward the exit. Every step echoed in the silence. The creature above began to follow, crawling through the pipes, never making a sound. Its body blended with the dark metal, skin shifting like chameleon armor. Suddenly, the lights flickered and turned red. A loud alarm blared. Breach detected. Containment failure. The door behind them slammed shut. Something triggered the system. Chin said, We're locked in. The creature above hissed, low and vibrating, like metal scraping bone. It dropped silently to the floor. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, thin but powerful. Muscles beneath its pale skin rippled with each movement. Its face was almost human, but too smooth. No lips, no nose, just deep black eyes and a jaw that opened sideways. It didn't charge. It walked slowly toward them, almost curious. Rourke fired. The bullet hit its chest. It stumbled back, but didn't fall. Instead, it looked down at the wound, then up again, and smiled. It leaped. Chaos broke loose. The creature moved like a shadow, too fast to track. Rourke rolled out of the way as Chin was thrown across the room, hitting a console hard. Sparks exploded from the machines. Dr. Mills ran toward the console. She scanned the screen, fingers shaking. There's an override code, she shouted. I can open the door. Rourke distracted the creature, firing shots, ducking behind a glass tank. It swiped at him, claws cutting through metal like paper. Chun groaned on the floor, trying to reach his weapon. Mills finally screamed, Got it? The door behind him hissed and slid open. Go! Rourke yelled, covering them. They ran. The creature hissed and followed, but a heavy steel gate dropped between them, blocking its path. The team didn't stop. They ran through the winding corridor, past the old labs, until they reached a lift that went to surface. Mills slammed the button. The lift was slow, ancient gears grinding. Come on, Chin muttered, bleeding from his arm. As the lift rose, the facility beneath them shook. That wasn't one, Mills said quietly. They all looked at her. There were hundreds of eggs. That was just one. Silence filled the lift as it reached the surface. The desert outside was cold, dark, and quiet, but the ground vibrated. The team set up camp in the landing module, sealed the doors, and activated emergency distress beacons. No signal reached Earth. Something was jamming all outgoing transmissions. Chun patched up his wounds, hands trembling. What if these things were sent out already? He asked. No, Rourke replied, voice low. This place was sealed. They didn't get out. But they're awake now, Mills said. We woke them. The screen in the module suddenly blinked to life. A video began playing by itself. The same hologram voice. Project Genesis final stage. Begin world expansion. Below the message was a map of Earth, with red blinking dots appearing across major cities. Rourke stepped back. They planned to send them down there. Mills whispered, What if some already made it? The screen blinked again. Another message. Unit 01, active. Unit 02, Active. Unit 03. Active. The list kept scrolling. Outside, in the Martian night, the wind picked up, and far in the distance, something moved beneath the sand. The alarm kept blaring. Red lights flashed inside the landing module as Rourke slammed his hand on the control panel, trying to force the emergency hatch to open. Nothing happened. The system refused to respond. The screen blinked a new message in glowing red letters. Facility lockdown, no exit. Dr. Mills stared at it. It's like the whole base is alive. It doesn't want us to leave. Lieutenant Chun looked out the window. The desert was still dark, but something shimmered in the distance, like metal rising from the sand. A structure, new and strange, had begun to grow out of the ground. Rourke turned back to the others. We're trapped, and oxygen's dropping fast. The module lights dimmed slightly. They were running on backup power, and it wouldn't last long. Chun checked the life support readings. We have maybe 4 hours of breathable air. Dr. Mills pulled up the blueprints from the old database. Her fingers trembled as she scanned the maps. There's an old maintenance tunnel beneath the control center, she said. It connects to a surface hatch near the west ridge. If we can reach it, we might escape. Rourke nodded. Grab whatever gear you can. We set explosives at the main doors first. If this thing wants to trap us, let's blow our way out. The team quickly packed what they needed. Small oxygen tanks, explosive charges, flashlights, and weapons. They moved through the dark corridors, each step echoing louder than the last. Along the way, the humming sound returned, a low vibration through the walls, like breathing. Then came the whispers. Faint, almost like static. Voices on their radios. You can't leave. They will find you. We are awake. Rourke turned the radio off. Ignore it. Keep moving. They reached the main blast doors, thick and covered in ancient dust. Chun placed the charges, hand steady despite the fear in his eyes. Dr. Mills looked back down the hall. Do you hear that? Footsteps. Wet, slow, getting closer. Chun armed the detonator. 10 seconds. Run. They sprinted down the hall as the countdown beeped. Just as the first creature rounded the corner, its long arms dragging against the wall. The explosives went off. The shock wave knocked them forward. Dust and fire filled the hallway. For a moment, there was silence. Then came the screech. It was louder than anything they'd heard. Not just pain, rage. They didn't look back. The breach in the blast doors wasn't wide enough to crawl through. Rourke grabbed another charge from his bag. I'll stay, he said. You two go. I'll blow the rest from this side. No, Mills shouted. There has to be another way. Rourke shook his head. If I don't stop them here, they'll rip you apart before you even reach the surface. Go. Now. He pushed them toward the gap. Chun grabbed Mills' arm and pulled her through. Rourke gave him a small nod before turning back and placing the charge on the wall. As Mills and Chun crawled through the debris, they heard one last explosion behind them. Then silence. Tears ran down Mills' face, mixing with dust and sweat. They didn't stop. They followed the map through broken tunnels, past collapsed walls and shattered labs. The facility shook again, like something massive had awakened below. After an hour of crawling, climbing, and running, they reached the old maintenance shaft. The ladder stretched up into darkness. Chun coughed. I hope this hatch still opens. One by one, they climbed. Each step felt heavier. Their oxygen tanks beeped, almost empty. At the top, the hatch was rusted, but still movable. Chun pushed with all his strength, and the door creaked open. Fresh air, thin but clean. They climbed out into the freezing Martian night. The stars above were brighter than ever. But so was the structure that now stood behind them. From the sand had risen a tall black tower. Smooth, alien metal, covered in glowing red lines. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Mills stared. It wasn't there before. Chun raised his binoculars. It's broadcasting. To what? He didn't answer. Above them, a low humming started. The same sound from the facility. Only now it came from the sky. They looked up. Tiny lights. Dozens of them. Moving in formation. Ships. They weren't from Earth. Something answered the signal. and it was coming fast. Mills dropped to her knees. We didn't just wake something up. We called a home. The wind picked up again, and the tower pulsed brighter. From the open hatch behind them, the ground rumbled. Something else had found the way out, and Earth was next. The surface of Mars was quiet. Red dust swirled in the cold wind, untouched by time. But underneath, inside the hidden facility, everything had changed. Alarms were still echoing from deep corridors, and lights blinked on and off like the heartbeat of a dying machine. Only 3 astronauts remained alive. Captain Rhodes crouched near a broken panel, typing commands into his wrist of ice. His hands were shaking, blood smeared across his gloves. "Come on, just one message. That's all I need." Behind him, Sam and Harper kept watch. They hadn't slept. They hadn't spoken much either. After losing the others, after seeing what the creatures had done, they knew silence was safer. Sound drew them. Movement drew them. "You think Earth got anything yet?" Harper whispered. "I don't know," Sam said, "but we have to warn them." Rhodes finished typing. The signal was weak, bouncing between layers of Martian rock. But it made it to the surface. A tiny burst of data shot into the sky, aimed at Earth. Message sent. "Do not come here." It was all they could manage. They knew they wouldn't survive. The facility shook. Deep, thunder-like rumblings came from far below. Sam looked toward the shaft that had once led to the lower labs. Now it was filled with darkness, and something moved within it. "They're building something," Harper said quietly. They had seen the machines. The giant arms lifting metal pieces. The creatures, half flesh, half machine, carrying parts without speaking, without rest. They weren't just surviving. They were growing, adapting. Rhodes checked the scanner. "The signal we saw earlier, it's stronger now. It's not pointing at Earth. It's going outward, into deep space." Sam's face paled. Then who was it meant for? No one answered. The tower above the facility had completed its rise. From the surface, it looked like a black needle stabbing the sky. It pulsed with energy, sending out invisible waves. Back on Earth, deep in the NASA communication hub, something strange happened. As the Martian message came through, a dozen more signals began lighting up on distant sensors. Unknown origins, alien frequencies, all responding to the tower. In the control room, engineers watched in silence as the monitors filled with alien responses. One by one, the signals grew louder. Back on Mars, Rhodes and the others stared at the ceiling as the rumbling intensified. The ground beneath their feet trembled. Cracks formed. Something massive was shifting underground. Then they heard it, a roar. Not mechanical, not natural. Something alive. Sam whispered, "We were never supposed to find this place." Rhodes nodded. They didn't build monsters, they built messengers. The final shot from the drone camera, before it went dark, showed a vast shape crawling just beneath the Martian surface. It wasn't fully visible, but it was huge, covered in spikes, breathing, and then the screen went black. Back on Earth, scientists panicked as more signals poured in from every corner of space. The truth was undeniable. The monsters created under Mars were just the beginning. They were prototypes, experiments. Something else was coming, something smarter, something stronger. They had made Mars their nest. Earth was next,